YouTube, what's going on? Today I bring you my post-Senior Bowl NFL mock draft. Feels like we've been a while since I've done an actual regular mock draft for me. It's been a couple weeks, obviously, since last week we did a trade mock draft. Go check that out. Before we hop in, I just want to remind you guys, if you want to, go ahead, leave a like down below and subscribe. You know, it's free. It takes little to no seconds of your time. I've got new mock drafts every week, new content coming soon. I've got positional rankings coming soon, 17 mock drafts. You know, if you guys want to see a specific video, you know, if you want to see quarterback rankings soon, just go ahead and let me down below in the comments, and I will take a look at that and get it done. So yeah, and let's hop straight in. So, starting off with the number 1 pick, it's not changing. You know, if you're coming here expecting to see something different at number 1, you're a little crazy. Trevor Lawrence is the pick. No need to explain much. It's been the pick since he came out of high school. He's a fantastic talent. Then at the number 2 pick, the Jets. This is honestly a pick I really think they're going to trade to the Texans at this point. I know that the Texans are very adamant that they're not going to trade Deshaun Watson, but it's going to happen. I mean, you're not just going to sit there and let a guy like Deshaun Watson just waste away, or maybe sit or force him to retire. If you do, there's just no respect. There's already little respect for the Texans, but if they actually force Deshaun Watson to retire just because they won't trade him, I will have zero respect for that team, if people even still have some respect for them. So I do think that the pick here will be traded to the Texans, but this is not a trade mock draft. I don't normally do those. And so in this world, we're assuming that, you know, they don't go and trade Deshaun Watson here, which means they're sticking with Sam Darnold. And especially like what I talked about in my coach rankings, also a video from last week, if you want to go check that out. You know, it really seems likely actually that they might actually keep Sam Darnold now and rock with him for at least another year, since they still have him for one more year before, you know, on his rookie contract. And, you know, heck, he might even play well. You know, then you can take the 5th-year option and stuff. But if you're not going to go quarterback here, I definitely love Penei Sewell here. If you watch my channel, you know I love Penei Sewell to death. But their offensive line was definitely not the weakness of their offense this year. It was definitely the receiving targets, because, you know, Denzel Mims shows some very good promise. You know, Brashad Perryman is meh. Obviously, their number 1 guy is Jamison Crowder, but he's really not that great. He's fine. I think he works good as a slot guy. But, you know, I think getting a guy like Ja'Marr Chase would just, you know, if you're going to stick with Sam Darnold, which again, in this case they are because there's no trades, I think Ja'Marr Chase is the perfect pick to go here. He's just such a talented receiver. You know, he was probably the best receiver in all of college football 2 years ago now, because last year was, you know, this last year, of course. Didn't play this year, but heck, I don't see any reason why he would have played any worse than he did the year before. I think this kid's going to be special. He's that true number 1 threat. He's speedy as well as having fantastic hands, just crazy athletic. I think it's a good pick here. Then at the Dolphins, this is another pick where I can realistically see them trading out of, you know, probably if a team wants to, at this point, if the Jets don't take a quarterback, right, this is probably where I would see Deshaun Watson going if the Jets don't trade for him. But let's say the Jets and the Dolphins, neither of them trade for him, right? Let's say the Texans are idiots and hold on to Watson. I don't see the pick being a quarterback here. You know, the only reason they're even considering Watson is because it's Deshaun Watson. You know, Tua obviously still has time to develop. You know, they would only trade for Watson because he's just that good already. So a quarterback doesn't make sense to me here. The pick that easily makes the most sense. And yeah, these 2 receivers are great, you know, but Penei Sewell is just, he's on another world when it comes to offensive line play. Coming into the NFL, this guy is already better than half the starters, right? And he could even be better than that by the end of the year. Tristan Wirfs, for example, was probably the best rookie from this class, you know, and you had guys like Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson, and, you know, you Chase Young. You had a bunch of talented guys, but Tristan Wirfs was the best tackle from this class. I think Penei Sewell could be better than Tristan Wirfs by the end of the year. This dude is insane in the way he plays. He's so athletic for a tackle. He has so much heart, and just overall, he's just such a good tackle. Just look at the tape, and that's really all you have to look at. He's incredible, and getting a guy like this would just make that, not only that offensive line, but that entire offense as a whole so much better. And while one of these receivers would as well, this guy is just on another level. Then at number 4, we have the Falcons, and for a while here, I would go with Justin Fields because I loved the idea of having Fields to develop behind Matt Ryan for a few years, and then coming in, I think he'd be ready and could tear up the league. But when a guy like Zach Wilson falls to you, and quote, falling at 4, you got to take him. Like, I think Zach Wilson probably has the highest floor out of any quarterbacks in the class, and you're looking at a class with a guy like Trevor Lawrence in it. Zach Wilson is incredible. He has insane arm talent. He's also super mobile. The dude really just has it all. He did not get near enough attention as he got this year, and he got a lot of freaking attention. He was just very solid for BYU. He is definitely more NFL ready in a way. So if this guy has some time to maybe sit behind Matt Ryan, or heck, they can maybe even start him right away and then trade Matt Ryan away for, maybe a first round pick or two. You look at what the Rams got for Matthew Stafford, or what the Lions got for Matthew Stafford. Trading a guy like Matt Ryan, they can easily get the same package for a quarterback needy team and start a guy like Wilson. So while I like the fit of Fields maybe a bit better, especially since he's a Georgia native and all that, Zach Wilson is just the better quarterback right now, and maybe the better quarterback long term. Then the Bengals at number 5, and wow, they would have really, really loved Penei Sewell here. He's the pick every time he is there at number 5 for the Bengals, but obviously he's not here this time. Realistically, this is a spot I would normally see them trading out of. Again, Justin Fields is still on the board, so maybe a team wants to trade up for him, but there is no trades. But I'm not one of those people that, like, if Penei Sewell is gone by this point, I don't agree with taking one of these tackles here. I don't think any of these tackles are top 5 pick worthy. So again, realistically, I think the move here at this point would be to trade down. But since they cannot trade down, I think the best pick at this point is going to be a receiving threat. If you can't get the offensive line help in the first round, the next best thing is to just make the offense better for Burrow. And they had some very solid receivers. T. Higgins looks like a great receiver for the future. Tyler Boyd has always been very underrated, in my opinion. You have guys like A.J. Green and John Ross who are probably not going to be there either as soon as next year. But, when you look at like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, I think Tyler Boyd is a great depth receiver and a fantastic slot guy. I think T. Higgins is tremendous. But then if you get a guy like Jalen Waddle with that offense, it just becomes elite already. You fix the offensive line, and that offense is super, super scary. You have a guy like Jalen Waddle with T. Higgins and Auden Tate and Tyler Boyd. It's such a scary, receiving room to look at, and it gives Burrow so many weapons. And yeah, I understand, the need for offensive line is big. I just think it's far too much of a reach to take one of these guys here, even for a very offensive line needy team like the Bengals. I think it's way too high to take any of these guys. Because I think the next best tackle on here is Christian Darrisaw, and I don't think he's going to go until at earliest, maybe the 10th pick. So, I just think it's too big of a reach. And if you're going to get, since they can't trade down, the next best pick is going to be Jalen Waddle. Then the Eagles at 6. And the Eagles here can very easily go with, Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley. They can also go with Micah Parsons for sure. I don't think they're the team that would take Justin Fields, though. They're either rolling with Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. There's no need to take another quarterback. But so, why not get the last great receiver on the board in DeVonta Smith here? Just a fantastic playmaker. I didn't even talk about Jalen Waddle and his speed that he has. DeVonta Smith is almost as speedy, and Jalen Waddle is really, really fast. DeVonta Smith, people like to look at him and say, all he does is just catch bubble screens, and, the size is going to be a concern. I don't think the size is going to be a concern. I think he can do a lot more than just bubble screens. I at one point had him as my number 1 receiver in the class. I've cooled down since then. I think he's probably the number 3 in the class, but the dude is still going to be tremendous. Again, I don't think the size is going to be a concern, and I think he can be a very solid receiver for the Eagles, and I think he fits well with them. Then the Lions at number 7. If one of those receivers had fallen to them, it may have become a bit more of a conflicted pick. And Kyle Pitts is sort of in my mind, but there's no other pick here than Justin Fields. You know, when a guy like Fields falls to you at 7, and again, quote, falls at 7, you just got to take him, especially, you know, I know they just traded for Jared Goff. I know. I don't think Jared Goff is the long-term solution. He's played decent ball, but he's also always had like a really good offense to go with a very good defense. And he's still truly just never performed like up to what he did in 2018. I don't think he's the quarterback of the future. So maybe you want to sit Fields for a year or two behind Goff or something. But I think Fields is the quarterback of the future for the Lions. Again, if he falls to you at 7, I just don't see any way you can pass him up. He has kinks he has to work out. But once he figures those out, he's going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. I think he'd be really good, and I think it's a good pick here for the Lions. Then at number 8, we have the Panthers. And the Panthers could very easily go Kyle Pitts here. 2 great corners on the board. Fantastic linebacker, Micah Parsons. But I'm taking Mac Jones. Now, like, I remember people would get mad at me because I would give Mac Jones, like, number 9 to the Broncos or, like, number 12 to the Cowboys or whatever. And he's going even higher here. And I have him above Trey Lance at this point, and I think most teams do as well. He had a fantastic Senior Bowl. Like, that really rose his stocks a lot. His stock a lot. Sorry, I'm thinking about stocks. You know, again, I have him over Trey Lance at this point. He didn't even play in the actual Senior Bowl game, but just all week, his practice, the way he looked, his balls were very accurate. Just so many different, you know, spectacles. And I've already made it vocal that I'm very high on this guy. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I have him over Trey Lance at this point, and I think he goes number 8 here to the Panthers, who obviously need a quarterback because Teddy Bridgewater was good for the first half, but then really cooled down towards the second half. And again, whether you want to rest him a year or two or whatever, I think Mac Jones is the guy to go. I don't know how much longer Teddy Bridgewater's there. I think he's there for a couple more years, but Mac Jones, I think, is the quarterback of the future for the Panthers. Then at number 9, we have the Broncos. And the Broncos could definitely go one of these corners here. They might want to go linebacker and Micah Parsons. Kwity Paye is a pick I don't understand that much to the Broncos. Like, you know, people are talking about how, you know, like, oh, they might not have Von Miller, you know. Listen, even if they do lose Von Miller, you know, depending on what his off-the-field issues lead to, Bradley Chubb was still a Pro Bowler this year. He was still great. And, yeah, maybe they're not necessarily starter-level guys, but they have great depth at that position in Jeremiah Tashu, Malik Reed, Anthony Chickillo. You know, they have good depth options there. And again, yeah, I know Kwity Paye would start. He would be a great, you know, guy, a replacement for Vaughn, assuming he won't be there. But I just think, you know, if you could get a guy like Micah Parsons or one of these cornerbacks, which are just much bigger needs than edge, I think it makes a lot more sense. But looking at the picks available here, though, you know, if you're going to go corner, I feel like Patrick Surtain's a better fit. But I am going to go with Micah Parsons here. I've expressed before that if you're a team like the Broncos that need a corner like right now to perform, you don't go out and draft one. Look at the Lions and what they did with Jeff Okudah. He showed flashes this year, but for the most year was pretty bad. I still think he has a very bright future. I think he'll be a good corner someday. But that's probably going to be another 2 to 3 years before he is. Corners just take time to develop. Unless you're Jalen Ramsey, they take time. And so, you know, if you look at a guy like Micah Parsons, who there's been some, you know, things that surfaced back recently of, you know, he has an aggressive or a fighting issue or something like that. These aren't like recent rumors, you know, and I don't think this is going to like hold this guy back. And regardless of that, look at the talent that this guy is, you know, just so athletic and so quick. He's so versatile in the way that he can play linebacker and safety, which, of course, Vic Fangio would love to have that kind of a guy because, he loves to play, like Vic Fangio loves to play Kareem Jackson up in the box all the time, which means you can really use Micah Parsons as more of like a coverage guy. But then Micah Parsons is kind of a 2-in-1 package where if you want to get another edge rusher, right, Micah Parsons puts up a good argument as the best edge rusher in the class. So if you really want, this guy can play up safety for you when you have Jackson in the box. He can play regular linebacker for you where he's great. And he can play like that edge outside linebacker spot if you're assuming Miller's not going to be there. I think it's a pick that makes the most sense for the Broncos. Then the Cowboys at number 10. And the Cowboys, I mean, it's a pretty easy pick. It's one of these corners because, like what I just said with the Broncos, they're a team that needs a corner like right now. The Cowboys are a team that need a corner, but not like right now. Chidobe Awuzie, he didn't hold up to the standards they were hoping for this year. But they have some decent depth guys over there. Trevon Diggs was really good at certain times of the year. But if you take a guy like Patrick Surtain, who I think between Caleb Farley and him is much more NFL ready, I think he makes an instant impact for you guys. And like I just said, I don't think he's going to be like that Jalen Ramsey type of instant impact, but I think he'll make it better. And again, with maybe a year or two, could be a great corner in the NFL. Very lengthy, very athletic. I agree with most people in the fact that Caleb Farley should go first. I think he's the best corner in this class, but Surtain, I just think fits the mold better for a Cowboy. I think he's just more what they need right now, and he's going above Farley here. Then the Giants at 11. The argument for, Kwity Paye is definitely here. I know a lot of Giants fans want more pass rush. There's also definitely a guy like JOK, who's really starting to rise up a lot of people's draft boards. Some people have him over Micah Parsons at this point. I don't, but this is not too high for him to go at all. But and Caleb Farley makes sense here as well, but the pick is still going to be Kyle Pitts. I mean, I was talking about it with Broshmo. If you haven't watched him, go watch him. He's pretty cool. I was talking about him. We were all kind of talking about the potential of this guy. And, Broshmo made a point that he really thinks that Kyle Pitts can be as good as Travis Kelce. And that's something I've been saying for a little bit, is that I think, Travis Kelce is a great comparison for the player that Kyle Pitts is, except in my mind, Kyle Pitts is more athletic and a better blocker. If you're comparing someone to Travis Kelce already, that's scary enough. But then when you then look at him and say he's better than that player at a few things, why wouldn't you want a guy like that? Again, I don't want Giants fans to be like, where we have Evan Ingram and all that. The guy is not just a tight end. He's athletically freaky, maybe the best receiver in this class aside from Jamar Chase. He's great, and he's just the best player available, honestly, at this point, and the best player for the Giants. Because realistically, this guy could go as high as, if we're being honest, it's not, it's not off-worldish for the Jets to maybe take him. It's truly not. I know a lot of people would look at that and think it is, but it's really just not. So I think it's a good pick here for the Giants. Then at number 12, we have the 49ers. And the 49ers, for a while, the pick here has been Caleb Farley. But with Trey Lance falling to here, I think that's going to end up being the pick here. I said one time that I'm not a big fan of Trey Lance at all. Personally, I think he's a bust in the NFL. This isn't necessarily what I would do, though. All my mocks aren't. None of my mocks are like what I would do. This is just how I could see it falling. I think Trey Lance is a bust. I said that if he doesn't go to either the Panthers or the 49ers. Those are the only two teams I can really even see, or the Patriots. Those are the only three teams I can really see him possibly working out with. And he gets here to the 49ers, and I think it's actually a really good fit, though. Just based off of the way the 49ers like to play. They love to hand the ball off and throw to their running backs as well as go for the deep passes. And that's exactly what Trey Lance has done his entire career at North Dakota State. If obviously the NFL is a different game, and a lot of the time I think he's a bust because, again, that's really all he did was hand the ball off or chuck it deep. But if you get into a system like Kyle Shanahan, where maybe he has a year or two to learn that complex system, and then come in, I think there's a possibility he could work out. But if it's not the Panthers, 49ers, or Patriots, I think he's a bust. Then the Chargers at 13, and the Chargers here just have to go off offensive line. It's been a pretty simple and the same pick for a while now. Sorry, that's just what is going on, buddy. It's been the same pick for a while, but Christian Darrisaw is the second best tackle in the class. I've pretty much solidified that at this point. Darrisaw, he's just been great. There's nothing else much more to say. He's been a very dominant blocker. It's just a super big guy. He really blew up this year because he was not on a lot of people's boards at the start of the year. But I think he's easily the second best tackle in the class. This is normally a guy that you have as your number one tackle, if not for a guy like Penei Sewell. And I think it's the best pick here. Just pair him up with Brian Bulaga and fix that offensive line, and you guys are going to be deadly. Then the Vikings at 14, and the Vikings, this has also been the same pick for a while. It's a pretty simple pick. Kwity Paye, I just think makes too much sense. I just love the pairing of him with Danielle Hunter. Kwity Paye, when it comes to the actual edge position, is the best edge rusher right now. And I say that because I do think there is a guy in this class that's going to go later that is a better long-term pass rusher, but Kwity Paye is definitely the best pass rusher right now. He has he has an enormous toolbox of moves he can pull on you. Just his finesse move is just lovely to look at. But I think it's the best pick here, and I think it's a good pick for the Vikings. Then the Patriots at 15, and this is a team that I see as pretty likely to move up in the draft. Probably with a team like, maybe the Dolphins, or maybe I think the Bengals is probably the one that make the most sense. You move up for probably Justin Fields. But all the quarterbacks are gone, at least that are going to go in the first round. And I just feel like they have to get offensive help somewhere. If you're looking at the wide receivers, I don't think any of these guys are first rounders, to be honest. Maybe Kadarius Toney or Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's dropped tremendously in their rankings for some reason. I don't think Rashad Bateman's a first rounder. I've just really cooled down on him recently. It's just the dropping issue I don't think I can get over, and I don't know, he's not the fastest guy, so I don't think he's a first rounder. Pat Freiermuth is a great tight end that can very well sneak into the first round, but it's just way too high for him here. So if you're just looking at it, quarterbacks are gone. It's too high for a receiver or a tight end for me. And Rashad Bateman, and like I said, this isn't what I would do. Rashad Bateman is definitely a pick that could go here. But I think if the draft falls like this, the best pick is going to be JOK. Another guy that is normally your number one linebacker, if not for, Parsons. He's been great for Notre Dame. Another guy that kind of came out of nowhere this year. But he's also a very versatile linebacker as well. He plays linebacker, obviously, but he's really shaped more of a safety. He's shaped more of a 2000 safety. He is shaped like a modern day linebacker. If you're going to give a comparison for him, Isaiah Simmons is a perfect comparison. He can also play slot corner as well. He's played a good amount of slot corner. And obviously, they don't need corners, but I think the guy is a great defensive player. I think he makes that defense a lot better instantly. He's a player that I think Bill Belichick would love to have, and no trades. I think it's too high for any of the other receivers. Quarterbacks are gone. This is the best pick. Then the Cardinals at 16, and the Cardinals just got to get a corner here. And wow, do they love the fact that Caleb Farley fell to them. Caleb Farley, again, is a guy that can go in the top 10, like, very easily. So this is fantastic value here. I think a lot of other people that Farley is the best corner in the class. Only reason I had the Cowboys taking him at 10 was because he was just more NFL ready. I thought he fit with the Cowboys better. But Caleb Farley on the Cardinals is just a dream, like a dream case scenario for any Cardinals fan. Getting a guy like Farley with his tool set and his athletic ability just is so great for a decimated corner room. He comes in their best corner day one. He'll be fantastic, and I really love the fit with him in the Cardinals. Then at 17, we have the Raiders, and this is just kind of a scenario where the Raiders have to go with the best defensive player available. Now, for a little bit, my pick was Azeez Ojulari, and that's the guy I was talking about earlier when I said that Kwity Paye isn't the best guy long term. I think Azeez Ojulari is, but I believe he's strictly a 3-4 outside linebacker. I don't think he's a 4-3 defensive end. Some people think he can work out there. I don't. So, looking at the Raiders, you're just going to want to go with, the best player available at this point. And if you're going to go with the best defensive player available, it's definitely Joseph Ossai. Again, the Ojulari is technically the better guy, but Ossai is super, super versatile. Is it versatile or versatile? I don't know. But he is just so versatile. Because a couple years ago, he played almost entirely like standing up, like outside linebacker for Texas. And then this last year, he played almost entirely hand in the dirt. And he was great in both seasons. He's a very powerful pass rusher, very speedy. He's a great player. And they can also fit him in, at 4-3 defensive end because he is so versatile. I think it's a pick that makes sense here. He's the best defensive player available, and I think it's the best pick. Then the Dolphins with number 18, they went with Penei Sewell with their first pick. And so here, one of these running backs is, a strong candidate, right, for this pick. They're another team that would love a linebacker. I don't think it's too high for Zaven Collins here at all. Like I said, wide receiver could be a pick here for sure. I think if anyone's likely to go here, it'd be Kadarius Toney, but it might be a little too early for him. Maybe they want to get an edge player or something. But I think and Azeez Ojulari is also a strong candidate here as well. But I do think, this is their last pick of the first round. Maybe they can get, one of these running backs with their second pick. But I just like the fit of Najee Harris with the Dolphins, like, a lot. If Broshmo watches this video, he'll get pissed at me because he hates the idea of taking a running back with in the first round. But that's what I'm going to go with here. I think pairing him back up with Tua is, a nice fit, obviously. But Harris is coming in day one already the best running back in that room. You get a guy like Harris with Sewell, and their run game becomes, actually existent. Not only existent, but dangerous. I think it becomes really good. Helps Tua out a lot, obviously, to have some other aspect to the offense. And again, he plays with such power to his game. He's like a less scary Derrick Henry, to put it in a way that people can understand. I like him. He's my number one running back in the class. I think he's first round worthy, and I like the fit with the Dolphins here. I think it fits well. So then the Washington football team at 19. I almost said 81 for some reason. Here is a pick that you would love to take a quarterback, obviously. Definitely not going Kyle Trask. Definitely not going Jamie Newman. Kellen Mond had a fantastic Pro Bowl. This guy's probably a second rounder now. Definitely way too high for him. So, quarterback will not be the pick here. If you want to go offensive line, I went with Elijah Vera Tucker last time for Washington, and that pick definitely still makes sense. If they want to go with wide receiver here, they definitely can. Rashad Bateman can very well go here. I like Terrace Marshall too. They could also maybe use like a good corner, and J.C. Horn is right here. I still don't think there's any first-round safeties. These guys are both definitely second-rounders, Moehrig and Grant. But, again, not first-rounders. So, for Washington here, I do think that the best pick is still going to be Vera Tucker. He's my top guard in the class, like easily. Um, you know, it's just if you're gonna look at that offense, I still think I don't really necessarily like any of those wide receivers with Washington here. All the quarterbacks are gone. So if you want to upgrade that offense, you go offensive line. And both of the tackles played very well this year. Brandon Sheriff was obviously great. More than likely will retain him. But if in the unfortunate chance that they don't retain Sheriff, Elijah Vera Tucker can go in at right guard, right? They have their center of the future in Chase Roulier. At left guard, I don't know who plays there, but he wasn't good. Or whoever, combination of guys weren't good. So if you put in a guy like Vera Tucker at left guard or right guard, wherever, it makes that offensive line instantly so much better. Again, I think he's a game changer. I think he's the best guard in the class. I think it's the pick that just makes the most sense here for them. So then the Bears at 20, and the Bears are another team that are either going to go offensive line or wide receiver. I don't know why Bears, it's going to be Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky, more than likely Mitch Trubisky starting next year. They're not going to get a quarterback in the draft. I strongly believe that. If you're battling for your job right now, Matt Nagy is, you don't go out and draft a quarterback. Maybe if they can trade up and get a guy like Zach Wilson, but I don't see that happening. So, if you're going to try and get the offense just better for Trubisky here, if you want to grab a guy like Terrace Marshall here, I'm all for it. Okay, and I'm back. So, sorry for that. Well, I mean, of course, you're not going to see it, but I just had to take a bit of a big break. I was recording this video at 11 o'clock this morning, and it's now 6 o'clock at night, so had to take a bit of a big break. But continuing back to where I was, my last line I was saying was if the Bears want to go out here and grab a guy like Terrace Marshall, who I think would fit really nicely with the Bears, I wouldn't be against that at all. I think that'd be a very nice pairing. If Allen Robinson doesn't stay there, I think Marshall could be great at the number one option, to start off right away. But obviously offensive line is another place that this team wants to look as well. And I just think that, being with the fact that they could cut some of their tackles, if not both their starting guys, and although I don't like Rashawn Slater that much, I do have to admit he is pretty versatile in his play, not in the sense of he can play guard. All the people saying that, they're only assuming that just because of his arm length, and that's a horrible way to just assume something. The guy can be a good tackle in the NFL. I'm not saying he can't be good, but I don't think he will be. People, there's obviously reasons to like him. I understand it. He is versatile. He is quick. He's not let up a sack in 2 years. I don't know. It's just in the way he plays. And there's just certain times where I just look at him and I don't think he can be a good tackle in the NFL. It's one of those things where, in a way, I kind of can't explain it, but obviously you're looking for me to explain it. It's just, I don't know. There's just these things I pick up on that I don't like him that much. But with the Bears, I think it's the one pick that I might not be mad with just because of the situation they're in with their tackles and such. So maybe a strange pick that in a way I can't explain the best, but it's just, it's the pick that if he's going to go for me, it's going to be the Bears. So then the Colts at 21, and no quarterbacks are here at this point for them to take. And so the pick, you can make an argument for receiver, like Rashad Bateman I think he'd fit with the Colts pretty nicely, but the pick definitely has to be a tackle here in Samuel Cosmi. Just a huge dude. I think he's 6'9". Just an enormous human being from Texas. Really, really athletic though for his size. He's very quick in his play for his size as well. Just a really good tackle from Texas to replace Costanzo. I think he'd be great there for the Colts, and I think it makes sense. Then with the Titans with 22, this is a pick that's been the same for a while, but I just think it makes so much sense. Azeez Ojulari, like I said earlier, I think has the highest upside out of any edge player in this class. And not only that, but he's gonna make an instant impact for whatever team drafts him. And a team that needs that instant impact pass rush right now is the Titans. Like, their pass rush horrendous. Pass rush was horrendous this last year. In the playoffs, it was pretty good against the Ravens, but that was one game. They sucked the rest of the year. And I think getting a guy like Ojulari, pairing him across from Harold Landry, I think is a nice fit. And I like him here to the Titans. Then the Jets with the 23rd pick, and they went with Jamar Chase with their first pick. And so here, maybe they pick up a guy like, Liam Eichenberg, or maybe even Dylan Redunz. Both these guys are kind of starting to get back into the first round for me, especially Redunz. He had a fantastic Pro Bowl. Probably still going to end up being a second rounder, but who knows? He might make it up here somewhere. They're a team that needs corner help pretty badly, and J.C. Horn is still on here at 23. Again, if they want to go inside, Wyatt Davis could possibly go here. Obviously, no quarterbacks to take. I think the best pick at this point is going to be a cornerback in J.C. Horn. This is another just tremendous talent. Some of the corners are kind of falling in this mock. It's just, I don't know. There's some bigger needs for some teams, I think, right now. But J.C. Horn is a fantastic, lengthy, and athletic corner from South Carolina. He's been great. To be honest, just because Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain had such great years, normally I feel like this guy would be your number one corner in the class. And there's a lot of that, in this draft class where they would normally be your number ones. But he is still a fantastic corner, and they could use some help in that corner room pretty badly. I forget his name, but their current number one guy, he was good this year, but there's a chance he might not be there next year. He's probably going to go and get a good-sized contract somewhere else, and they have the money to assign him. But whether they keep him or not, the corner room still needs some help. I think it's the best pick to go here. Running backs, obviously, Travis Etienne's a consideration, but I think J.C. Horn's the best pick here, just being that it's great value for the pick. Then the Steelers at 24, and I would love to give Travis Etienne to the Steelers right here. Although I've kind of cooled down on him a bit. I think he's more of a second rounder, an early second rounder to maybe someone like, maybe normally the Dolphins, but they took Najee Harris just now. So who knows, maybe the Jets, the Falcons. So I think he's more of a second rounder right now. Mainly just because Najee Harris has taken over in such a big way. If they're not going to go running back, they have to go offensive line here. And looking at some of the offensive linemen available, I can maybe see Wyatt Davis here, but it's definitely got to be a tackle for me. And it's really between Dylan Redunz or Liam Eichenberg at this spot. I'm still into the second round for Mayfield. Tevin Jenkins has always been a third-round pick for me. There's a lot of hype around him right now. He's just super sluggish in the way he plays, and I do not like that in a tackle at all. I think he can make a solid third-rounder, develop a little bit. Obviously a big-bodied guy, hasn't let up a sack, but, he's just sluggish. He won't hold up against the speedier guys. And Leatherwood, wow, he just had a horrible Senior Bowl. Another guy that just looked sluggish. His feet moved so slowly. Honestly, they list him as a tackle here, but he is not going to last as a tackle in the NFL. He will be a guard. Otherwise, he's just not going to last. But anyways, looking at Eichenberg and Redunz, I would have had Eichenberg over Redunz in the past, but because his Senior Bowl was so good, he looked really, really good, I'm going to go Dylan Redunz here. He was a guy that I was always, late first round, early second round on him. I think he'll be a pretty solid tackle in the NFL, definitely more of a better run blocker. But that's kind of what they need, because they need to get that run game going. And he's also a solid pass blocker. And again, he had a fantastic Senior Bowl, so I think it makes sense here. Then the Jaguars at 25, they took Trevor Lawrence with the first pick. And here, they're another team that could use a corner. I still have Eric Stokes above Asante Samuel, even though a lot of people are high on Samuel right now. I still think Stokes is better right now. I think Samuel holds more long-term upside, but I would still take Stokes at this point because they're also a team that needs some corner help and get someone across from C.J. Henderson. They can definitely go offensive line here. I really like the fit of Jalen Mayfield. I like him better than Eichenberg, actually, with the Jaguars. This is a spot that Pat Fryermuth can, crawl into realistically. But the pick for me here is going to be a corner. Eric Stokes is a very good physical corner from Georgia. It's mainly just about getting someone back there with Henderson, and I think Stokes would be a fantastic number 2 in the NFL. Can be a number 1 in the future, but obviously they already have that in CJ Henderson, who I do think is better than Stokes. But he is still a very good physical corner. I just think it's the best pick and best value at this point. Then the Browns. This has been the same pick for a while as well, but Zaven Collins, it just makes too much sense for me. Zaven Collins is just a fantastic athlete, like maybe the best athlete in this class, apart from like Micah Parsons and Devontae Smith. Super, super athletic, super fast. And he's a very consistent guy in his plays. He isn't your highlight reel. He's not going to put up a great play every now and then. He's consistently good on every down, gives a ton of effort, great in the run game. He's just an all-around fantastic linebacker that, again, is normally your number 1 guy. Really only falls here because he could go a lot higher than this, honestly. But the Browns get him as a great pick here. Then the Ravens at 27. And the Ravens just basically need to get the best edge player available at this point in the draft. Before I like to go with Carlos Basham here. That is still definitely a pick in consideration. At the defensive line, I don't really think any of these guys are first rounders. They could very well go Wyatt Davis here. They do need help at the inside on their offensive line, but I just think, getting some pass rush is too big of a need for them. And I like Carlos Basham. If you look at the Ravens, Calais Campbell's getting older. Derek Wolfe was largely inconsistent this year, and they may lose either one or both of Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue. They have great depth guys there in Pernell McPhee and Tyus Bowser, but they're depth guys. And if you get a guy like Carlos Basham, who I think is majorly underrated, mainly because he's gone to Wake Forest, I think he's a first rounder. He's one of my favorite edge guys in the class. I think he's really good. Maybe a bit raw, a bit of a developmental project, which is why some people are lower on him. But, I think he can develop pretty quickly in the NFL, and I think he'll catch on. I think he'll be pretty good. So then the Saints at 28. I've had a lot of Saints fans telling me they want to take a safety with the first pick, and that's not an option. Trevon Moehrig and Richie Grant are easily, 1A, 1B right now for safeties, and these guys are at best second rounders. A lot of people have Moehrig in the first round. I don't. So safety is just not an option here. If you want to go somewhere, I still think that the best spot to go here is linebacker in Nick Bolton. Another pick that's been the same for a while, but it's just, a pick that makes too much sense. Nick Bolton is just yet another crazy athletic linebacker. I said Zaven Collins is one of the most athletic guys in this class. I'd give it to Nick Bolton as the most athletic guy in the class. He's just fantastic. Looking at their linebacker room, if you keep Zach Bond and Demario Davis, you've got 2 great linebackers if Zach Bond develops. If not, you've got one guy because Quan Alexander will not be there next year. I think Nick Bolton's, it's a pick that makes sense, a pick that fits, and I like it. Then the Packers at 29, and the Packers just have to go corner here. I mean, in the championship, they were picked on at that second corner position. If you can get someone good across from Jair Alexander, it's going to help that team out tremendously because Kevin King just looked like a middle school football player out there. And looking at the corners available, the best one easily available here is Asante Samuel. I still think largely he should be a second round pick, but I do get the hype for his first round grade that a lot of people give him. He has been tremendous for Florida State. He's a very quick corner. He has great hands, just a good sense for the position. And I like him a lot. He's still my number 5 in the class. I still have Eric Stokes above him, but he is still a great pick. And I think him and Jair Alexander, I can't say that name for some reason, fit really nicely together, and I think it's a good pick. And then the Bills at 30. This is another pretty easy pick for me. I don't think Wyatt Davis is a first rounder, but when it comes to a team like the Bills, he is. And what I mean by that is the fact that the Bills are arguably they're the most complete team in the NFL, arguably. They don't have a lot of holes. Maybe they go like linebacker, because they really didn't have depth to start with, and now they're going to lose Matt Milano because I guess they don't want to sign him apparently. So linebacker is definitely a choice here. If you look at a guy like Dylan Moses or a Chad Surratt, who I'm kind of starting to give some first-round consideration on with Chad Surratt. But if you look at a guy like Wyatt Davis, he is a developmental project. You won't see that in the film, and a lot of people won't tell you that he is, but he really is. For a long time, I thought people had him way too high in their rankings. Him being a consistent like top 15 pick, especially to like the 49ers and stuff, I thought was crazy because he's a good guard, but he's not that good. Not yet. And that's why I think the Bills can afford to take him here. I think you can take some time and let him grow. When you're such a complete team, you can kind of just take this luxury pick that's just going to make your team even better in the future. I think it makes sense. So then the Buccaneers at 31. And this is a pretty easy pick for me. Like it's going to be like an edge player, obviously. They're another team that's just so well put together. But if you do look at the defensive line though, like they've got Ndamukong Suh, which someone loved to correct me on that name. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. It destroys my credibility apparently. Sorry. Ndamukong Suh, or however you say it, they've got him there. Vita Bay, obviously, who's been pretty great. And then really just no one at that other position. I can't even think of who's starting there right now. But, and there's actually, I think Shaquille Barrett is entering free agency because I'm pretty sure he's playing on a tag this year. So, they can go multiple different, but it's going to be an edge player here. I don't think Christian Barmore is going to go. If they're going to go an edge player, though, it's definitely between either Gregory Rousseau or Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips is the better guy right now, for sure. There's no argument to that. Jaelan Phillips is a dominant player, much more consistent than Rousseau. But that's the thing with Rousseau is if he fixes some of his issues with finishing plays, because the sack numbers are high, yeah, but that's just because he gets very easy plays. On plays where he actually has to fight for it and finish a play, he just doesn't. If you give him some time to develop, I think he would be just a great player in the NFL, a scary dominant guy. But, when it comes to these two, I like the fit of Jaelan Phillips a lot more on the Buccaneers. He's more NFL ready. I think pairing him up right now with Ndamukong and Vita Vea would just be better for the team. A dominant dude. I have him over Gregory Rousseau at this point, who, I just keep falling more and more on him just because the more I think about him, he's just such an overhyped player. He's a developmental project. He doesn't finish his plays. His sack numbers come from easy plays. He's not that, effective in the run game. I just keep getting more and more, just not liking him. So Jaelan Phillips is the better pick here, in my opinion. And then with the final pick of our first round that has lasted 7 hours, we have the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have a few interesting positions they can go, honestly. They might want to take a receiver, Rashad Bateman or Terrace Marshall. They can go offensive line to get, Patty Mahomes some more, just because Mitchell Schwartz, when he went out, it wasn't a huge issue, but there was obviously way more pass rush on him. And that's what's going to happen when you lose a guy like, Mitchell Schwartz. He's arguably the best tackle in football. When they lost Eric Fisher, that also affected him pretty badly. So if you want to go with a luxury pick in here and just get some great tackle depth, I think a guy like Eichenberg would fit really nicely with the Chiefs. Or a guy like Dylan Moses, would be a great linebacker for them. A guy that would be a first rounder, if not for some injuries and stuff. I think he'll be great in the NFL. I just think as of right now, he's a second rounder. So with the Chiefs here, I think the pick is going to end up be, a tackle here. A lot of people like to go inside. I don't think any of these guys are first rounders, first off, but also I think that, their inside was only not the best this year because, certain guys opted out, like Laurent Duvernay, he opted out because he was fighting COVID on the front line. So respect to the man. and they had some injury concerns as well. So I think the better pick here is to go with tackle, since I'm pretty sure Mitchell Schwartz is on a contract year next year as well. And when you've paid so much money to Chris Jones and Patty Mahomes, and then you're trying to keep another keystone like that, you might not be able to keep him. So there's a chance he might even be starting next year. But getting a guy like Eichenberg would make the offensive line instantly better. It's a guy that I've kind of cooled down on, because he's very inconsistent in his play. But I've said it before, like when he's in his good strides where he's playing well, he plays really well. And the other good part of it is that, I mean, in his bad strides, which of course you never want him to play bad, but in his bad strides, he's not horrible. It's not like a hit or miss situation. He's always decent to great, which I think, if you can take some time, though, develop him behind, Fisher and Schwartz, maybe you have the luxury of letting Schwartz go and then signing players elsewhere because you have a guy like Eichenberg. So I think if anything, at worst, he's great depth. So that's my first round mock post Senior Bowl. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. It's free. We're nearing 200 subscribers. And I also just want to take a moment to say, to everyone who watches these videos, whether you end up thinking my drafts are stupid or you love them, I just want to take a moment and say, thank you guys so much for, just watching them and taking the time to listen to what I have to say and, a comment down below and actually leave a like and actually comment. And, I love talking with you guys. It's an awesome feeling because the other day I was on another YouTube channel for football and I commented something and someone replied to me on someone else's channel saying they loved my content. Like someone recognized me as a football YouTuber, like on another channel. And that was really cool to me. I would love to do this full time eventually someday. That'd be a dream. So to see stuff like that, it really does, it means a lot to me. So if you take the time to watch these videos and stuff, I want to thank you a lot for that. And it helps all the time, again, to subscribe. New videos all the time. I got a little mushy there, but I'll be out with the second and third rounds tomorrow. Wasn't the second and third round for last week because footage got corrupted and put me in a bad mood. So, but you guys are there to lift me up. As you know, I can't talk. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.